All right, algebra. So today we are solving radical equations. That's going to be an equation that's going to have a variable in a square root. So I got three examples here to start with, three problems to start with. So the first one says square root of x minus 3 equals 4. So the square root of some number, and then we subtract 3 from it, we're going to get 4. So to solve an equation with a square root, you treat it as if it was just an equation with a normal x. Your goal is to get this square root of x alone. So this minus 3 I'm going to get rid of by adding 3. So now I have the square root of x equals 7. And now you can probably figure this out in your head. All right, the square root of what number is 7? You probably know, oh, it's 49. But how would you do this for sure? What you're going to do is you square both sides. Because remember, when we solve an equation, we do the opposite operation, right? Here, it was if we wanted to get rid of the minus 3, we added 3. We did the opposite. So we want to get rid of the square root, we square. Square rooting and squaring are the opposite of each other. But remember, you have to do it to both sides. So the square root and squared cancel each other out, and I just have x. Over here, 7 squared is 49. So I got x equals 49. The one thing with these is you need to check your answers, because you will get answers that are not always correct. Now, in a basic problem like this, they normally are correct. It's kind of more when they get complicated and you have to square things and such, but it doesn't hurt to check. It only takes a second. So I lost my eraser. So a lot of times I literally write check, underline. So if I'm going to check it, I'm plugging 49 in. The square root of 49 minus 3 equals 4. Well, the square root of 49 is 7. And we know 7 minus 3 is 4. 4 equals 4. So we're good. That answer is correct. So let's look at our second one. I got the square root of x minus 3. So all of that is under the square root, and it equals 4. So in this case, the square root already equals something. This minus 3, you can't add 3 to get rid of it because it's under the square root. So what we do here is we're going to square both sides right away because we already have square root equals. There's nothing with the square root that's on the left side of the equation, so we're good to square now. So I square both sides. So the square root and the square cancel out, so I get x minus 3. 4 squared is 16. So to solve just one-step equation, add 3, and x equals 19. Again, I'm going to check my answer. So I'm going to check it real quick. So the square root of 19 minus 3 equals 4. It'll be the square root of 16 equals 4. Square root of 16 is 4. So 4 equals 4, we're good. X equals 19 is an acceptable answer. So let's look at our last one here. So we got 3 root x plus 7 equals 1. So the first thing is we need to get rid of everything because we want it to just be the root of something equals a number. So that means this plus 7's got to go away, but also means the 3's got to go away. Treat it as if this just said 3x plus 7, like it was a two-step equation. If it was that, you would subtract 7 first. So now I have 3 root x equals negative 6. My next step is, if you got a number outside the square root, so 3 is being multiplied by the square root, so we do the opposite, and we divide by 3 to cancel that out. They cancel, so now I get root x equals negative 2. So our next step is, now that we got to the square root equals, we can square both sides. So the square root of x squared equals, when you're squaring a negative number, remember, put it in parentheses. So when I square this, square root and square cancel out, I get x equals. Here I got negative 2 squared is positive 4. So I got x equals 4. I'm going to check my answer. So I'm going to take the 4, so it's going to be 3 times root 4 plus 7 equals 1. So the square root of 4 is 2, so that's 3 times 2 plus 7 equals 1. I'm just going to do the rest of this math. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 7 is 13. I get 13 equals 1. 13 does not equal 1. This is not an answer. So now there's no answer, so our answer is no solution. So why is this one no solution? You actually could have recognized that this was no solution when you got to this point right there. Because you got the square root of some number equals a negative. And that's not possible. Whenever you take the square root of a number, you cannot get a negative number. Even like even if x had been negative, think about it, you can't even take the square root of a negative number. So it's not possible. So when you get to square root equals negative number, you could actually stop right there and say no solution, but this is impossible. But you can see if you kept going, we did get an answer, x equals 4. But when we checked it, we took that second to check it. You have to check these. So it's just an extra step that has to be done when solving radical equations. So when I checked it, I plugged it in, and all of a sudden you can see I got 13 equals 1, which is obviously not true. So that tells me x does not equal 4, and there is no solution. All right, I got 2 more videos coming.